When I work on people, I often find they have a huge amount of hip tension and tension down into their pelvic bowl. People with lumbar issues in their low back are often having tight hips, tight hamstrings, tight gluteal musculature, and there's not a huge degree of rotation through their hip. The hip mobility is lessened. The more you practice Thai massage, the more this will make sense. My students who will take classes from me, typically massage therapists, will inevitably comment because they will work on clients after taking an introduction to Thai massage class with me. They'll get used to seeing this. They'll take someone, this leg is ankle, knee, hip, shoulder in one line. This leg winds up bent, and you put the person in what we call reclined tree. Erica's hips are fairly open. You can see as I press here, there's a little bit of lift in this opposite hip, and it's because of the interaction of the femur in the hip joint. Usually what will happen is I'm using palm pressure on the inside of the leg through soft tissue. This is really just a gentle mobilizing, following some energy lines on the inside of the leg. And I'm allowing her to rock side to side. I'm not pressing on both legs at the same time. That can be a bit aggressive. But a lot of clients will be so tight in their hips that they'll be like this. And this is where they're at a rest. When students work on me, my hip goes completely open. My knee goes to the ground. So they're often taken aback because they're used to working on clients in their office or in their spa and seeing that much hip tightness. But I've been practicing yoga and Thai massage for so long that it's actually changed my hip structure and changed the amount of mobility in my hips. When you're working on someone who has low back pain, this is an extremely effective way of providing some relief through the hip musculature. And when I'm doing this, I'm using the legs as a handle to access structure deep down within the pelvic bowl, deep down in the hips. You can see again that I'm allowing the muscle to rotate around the femur on either side. There's no extreme pressure, it's very broad. You don't want to come in and press very pointedly. That can be uncomfortable for people. And I'm skipping over the kneecaps. And I'll show you again on the opposite side. Again, the person is in tree. Sometimes the person's foot will come out like this. Not that big a deal. It's just a slightly different hip rotation. Usually, I will then turn myself at almost a 45-degree angle. This just feels comfortable to me so that I can gently walk up the inside of the leg, all the fleshy parts. You're palming up the lines, palming the inside of the thigh. Again, promoting the quadriceps rolling around the femur. You can see this hip mobility when I press. It's getting a stretch deep down in the hip over here, but it's pulling this guy up. And a good transition from this and having opened and externally rotated the hip is to put the person in kickstand and then traction. My knees are right around their ankles so I can hold them up with my legs, but I'm gently able to traction the hip. You'll sometimes feel the hip slightly pull, almost feels like out of socket. You can judge the receiver's face as to whether that feels good or not. Usually they like it. And you can always repeat again if you want to. Or you can make it just a little deeper. Since we've already done some work, I can just press with one or two hands now. You can also lift the person and maybe gently counter stretch. Then you start to work the outside of the leg. I'll see you again soon on RobertGardnerWellness.com.